just like, no, I want to put in that extra work because that one little thing, that one extra ball you hit, it may just be like, all right, hey, I found my swing again, or that one extra bullpen session, or even a flat ground for a pitcher. It's just like, hey, I just found something that I really like that I can use in a game situation.
Before we start with this podcast, I would like you to follow our social media accounts, Campus Connections International on Facebook, CCI underscore INTL on Instagram. And the podcast is called Beyond the Locker Room in iTunes Podcast. And our guest today is Trevor Dudar. He's been an amazing player throughout his college career. He has very good insight on being a student athlete, and just keep following up on this podcast. Every single week we're gonna have two different stories from two different guys. One Hispanic guy coming from another country, and then one American guy trying to get a scholarship and trying to play the game of baseball or any other game. Right now, we're trying to go with the baseball side of things. However, it's gonna be something really good for you to learn, especially if you are in the recruiting process of starting your college career. These are very good insights from these guys who have done it. They've been there, they've done that. So just take advantage of their insight and replicate and do it better. That's the whole thing. All right. Welcome to Beyond the Locker Room. This is our second episode and our first English version. We are going to have a special guest tonight, and joining us today is going to be Trevor Dudar. Dudar was our closer at Northwest Missouri State. He has a lot of knowledge that he wants to share with us, and we are excited to have him today. So get ready. Welcome, Trevor.
Yeah, good to be here, Pop.
How you doing tonight, man?
Good, buddy. How you been?
I'm doing good, man. Doing awesome.
Good.
Living the dream.
Absolutely.
Trev, tell us a little bit more about you. Where are you from, and how old are you?
I am from Stillwater, Minnesota. Still live here. Still living at home with my parents. Just trying to grind out, trying to sign a professional contract with an affiliate team, preferably, obviously. But if kind of things don't go to that, but I think they will obviously sign with a independent team. And I'm 24 years old. I just turned 24 in February. So
awesome, man, awesome. And I know you have been working hard towards that. One of the hardest working guys that I've ever seen. Especially as a pitcher. And hopefully it's gonna pay off. I know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
At what age did you start playing baseball?
I probably started playing around 4 or 5 years old. I remember my dad was, got me like the little, kid setup thing with the plastic bat and wiffle ball and everything like that. And then, I don't remember obviously doing that. I remember like T-ball when I was like 5 years old, and dressing up and whatnot. But I would say probably, 4 years old or so.
Oh, gotcha. You said your dad made you start, right? Like you.
Yeah, he was a big baseball guy. He's obviously from Minnesota too, so he was a big hockey fan, and he wanted me to play hockey, but I couldn't skate really well, so thankfully I was tall enough to play basketball. But no, yeah, he got me involved in baseball since he played it, in high school and whatnot. But I've loved it ever since I started playing it.
Gotcha. So besides baseball, did you ever play a competitive sport?
Not in college. In high school, I played basketball till 9th grade, and then I played football. 7th grade was my last year of that. Tried out for a national team that was up here. It was called the Minnesota Blizzard at the time, and I made that in 8th grade and 9th grade, and we traveled throughout the United States doing tournament stuff. And then in 10th grade, I transitioned to another national team called Team Max Bat, and we basically did the same thing with a little bit more exposure to college coaches, which I wanted at the time. Looking obviously to play college baseball. So that is it. I mean, like I said, otherwise in college I just played like intramural stuff, but obviously just baseball. So
Yeah, I remember you guys playing intramurals,
yeah.
and that was fun to watch. Trev, so whenever you were in high school, that senior year, you're a big guy. You're 6'4". I'm guessing you were around 200 pounds back in high school, right?
Yeah, I was a buck 90 soaking wet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So how was the recruiting process for you? How did that start? Did you have a lot of interest from different people? How,
So I remember telling my parents when I was like a sophomore, junior in college or in high school, excuse me, I wanted to sign with a team before my senior year so I didn't have to worry about it and I could just, focus on baseball and playing. So I didn't really get looked at by a lot of big name schools. No D1s looked at me. I remember I did a showcase thing at Illinois State University when I was a sophomore in high school, and they basically just said you could come here and be a walk on, and you may not play, at all, if not till you like your junior senior year. So I was like, okay, I don't really want to do that. And then there was a Division II here, Concordia St. Paul, that I kind of looked at, trying to walk on, but I was like, oh, I kind of want to go away from Minnesota. I mean, it's cold up here, so I
yeah,
wanted to go anywhere south that would be warmer for baseball. So I was looking at a bunch of NAIs, basically a Division III here in Minnesota, but NAIs in North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, a bunch of those because they gave out, excuse me, scholarship money. And on top of it, I mean, it's good competition. That's the best thing that I remember telling my parents about it for baseball wise is that you can get drafted out of any level. Where like football, it's very hard to get drafted, out of Division II or Division III. Obviously, it happens, but it's more likely, obviously, to get drafted or play professionally out of any type of college atmosphere for baseball.
yeah, that's true. And I remember, in the league that we play in the MIAA,
Yeah.
every year there were two or three guys getting signed.
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
know,
Even drafted and even free contract or free agent stuff. I mean, there was a lot of guys getting picked up out of our conference. I mean, I don't want to sound biased, but I think our conference was probably the toughest conference in all of America for baseball. I really
yeah,
do.
yeah, for the D2 level, yeah, I agree with you. It was a very good conference. That's kind of what it made me decide as well to go to Northwest.
Mhm.
I'd rather go to a good D2 than going to a small, like, very bad D1.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I know a couple buddies of mine that went to like mid-major D1s, and they were even talking about it. And I remember telling them about our team, my junior year, when we won conference, and they were like, honestly, from what he was saying, is like from the guys that you have, what it sounds like, he's like, I bet you could probably beat half of the Division I teams, and I firmly believe that. I mean, we were stacked, like we were
Yeah,
good.
yeah, we were rolling. We were rolling. That was a really good team we had.
Yeah.
Um, Trev, so you signed with Midland, right?
Yep. Yep.
Midland University and NAIA
Yep.
school up north. You played there your freshman year, right?
That is correct.
What position do you play there?
So I was a pitcher there. I signed it with a head coach named Jordan Bishel. He was a great guy, great assistant coaches that he had down there as well. And I really liked him. I mean, he had professional guys getting signed. He was a Northwoods coach too. And so he was, yeah, I mean, his resume, I mean, he had a lot of pro guys even signing free agent deals with independent teams or affiliate teams. So I was like, okay, that's where I want to go. And it was in Nebraska. So, I mean, it wasn't too warm, but I mean, it was warm enough for me. And I mean, it was only 6 hours from home. So that's why I went there. Unfortunately, he left my August right before I was going down there my freshman year. He went up to a school, Northwood University in Michigan. So we had a different coach come in there my freshman year.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And so that kind of made you, try to look for another place. You didn't like the coach that year. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it was a kind of a lot of things. I mean, I was homesick too a little bit, I'd say. I mean, I thought I'd kind of transition well into it, and college is obviously a lot tougher than high school, even academically and obviously for baseball wise. So it was kind of a tough transition for me the first couple months. And on top of it, both my roommates left the first semester too, so that kind of was even more worse. It's just kind of like, oh, this really isn't the best. But our baseball team was decent. It wasn't any bad competition in NAI at all. I mean, I remember we faced um, what was the team? Oklahoma Baptist, who's now Division II. They had two absolute studs, and I'll never forget like seeing like 10 scouts in the stands. They had a righty throwing 92, 94, and then they had some lefty throwing like 90, 92. And it was really cool because obviously, you're just like, oh, NAI is not that good of baseball, but it was very, very good. Obviously, yes, there are some teams that aren't as good, obviously, but there were a lot of teams that were very good. And even those guys that were there, it's like, you guys should not be here right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I have a buddy. He played at Peru State, and he signed last year. He was throwing 98.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Dude,
so it
it's
doesn't
not,
matter where you go.
yeah,
Honestly,
it doesn't,
you
man. Because
know.
as long as you put up the stats and you have, when they come out there and they're like, this guy throws cheese, or, the hitter's just dropping, he's got that bad speed or got that exit velo, they don't care where you're from.
Exactly, exactly. So there's a lot of guys caught up in the, I want to go D1, I want to go D1.
Yeah,
They don't understand and they don't see the opportunity that's out there for them. You know,
absolutely.
um, you might end up going D1, but who do you think your coach is gonna play? The junior or senior guy
Yeah.
who they pay a lot of money to transfer from a JUCO, who's a
Yep.
proven guy, or
Yep.
you who came as a freshman, from a small high school. I mean, you just gotta think.
Absolutely. I mean, there are obviously some kids, that go Division I and they start as freshmen, and those guys are studs because they obviously probably got drafted out of high school, didn't sign because they want to
Oh
be a
yeah,
higher draft pick. But I mean, if you think about it, like going to Midland, I remember I was trying to do two-way stuff the beginning part, but I was just like, I know pitching's just for me. And yeah, I mean, you look at the infield even there, it was like our shortstop, third baseman, second baseman, all were like Gold Glove guys, like for NAIA. So it was like these guys weren't scrubs or anything. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, I was going in there 6'4", 190 pounds, barely ever saw a weight room in high school. Like, I just didn't want to lift at that time. And then I go there and these guys are, pretty jacked and everything. I'm just like, wow, this is a culture shock. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. You're playing again. You're playing with guys that are 23, 24 years old. I
Yep.
was 25, 26 in my case.
I know. I'll never forget it. Talking to these guys, and I'm like, yeah, I'm 18, like I'm a freshman, and they're like 22, 23 years old, and they just like men, and I'm sitting there like I look like just a little high school kid right now. So
Yeah, yeah, no, I know it's a tough transition for sure. So you go to Simpson,
yep,
right?
yep, that's
That's a
correct.
D3 school,
Yep.
right? I know that D3 don't give away any scholarship. So do you have any like academic scholarship or anything like that?
So it
Uh,
was nice with Simpson. My roommate actually that was at Midland, the first one that left in the first semester, he transferred there, and then I just kind of was talking to him about it and everything during when I was at Midland in our second semester playing baseball and stuff, and was kind of telling my parents that I didn't really want to go back there, and he's just like, well, hey, it's closer to home for you. He was in right outside of Des Moines, Iowa. And he's like, Casey Blake's brother is the head coach, and Casey Blake was a former MLB player that played 10 plus years in the big league. So I was like, well, that's kind of sweet. His brother plays. There's probably scouts that go there. I'm always looking for places that they're going to have possible scouts there. I mean, I was only throwing 80, 82 at that time, but still, I was like, I don't care. Like, I want people to recognize me. And I visited their campus, met the coach, Joe Blake. I mean, he was good, or excuse me, Ben Blake. Joe was his dad, and yeah, he was a great guy, and the team was just fantastic. And yeah, they accepted me right away, which is great. But yeah, I mean D3. I mean, again, it wasn't like any slouch. I mean, we played a couple really tough teams. I know there's when I was pitching in the Northwoods League, there was a Division III guy out there on our team that got drafted in like the 18th round by the Padres. He was pretty good, and then there was also a pitcher out there too that was throwing low 90s that later on got drafted. But regardless of that, the school wise, they gave me a transfer like scholarship, just a little one, and then obviously I got an academic scholarship there too. But I mean, Division threes are a little pricey, obviously, because they cannot give the athletic scholarship. But if you have really good grades, like I was just like a 3.0 student, so I didn't have like the best grades, but they weren't really bad. So obviously, if you just got, even a 3.0, you were still getting a good amount of money. But at the end of the day, it is a lot of money. So if you have good grades and you go there, it's probably going to be pretty cheap for you.
Yeah, that's something that I wanna, I wanna emphasize too, because guys think that they're gonna go to college and I'm just gonna go play baseball, which is
Yeah.
not the case. Most of the time, whenever you go to school, the first thing that coach that's recruiting you, the first thing they ask is how are your grades,
Absolutely.
because they know if you are above a 3.0, they might be able to get you academic scholarship and get
Yep.
that price way down.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember going to Northwest, and the first time I met Skip, I think the first two questions he asked me, he was like, "How was the drive in here?" Then I was like, "Yeah, it was good." And then, like, literally, the first question he asked me was, "What was my GPA?" Because he wanted to know. They want to know what they can do for you financially with that to help you out. And I remember even looking at, I mean, I toured a lot of colleges just to tour them, even for baseball and even just for school. And if you looked at the, financial aid packages, from a 3.0, which was what I was, to like a 3.3, it was like a $5,000 difference of
Yeah,
money. You know what I mean? That's a lot. And
yeah,
then you go from a 3.3 average to like a 3.5, it was like another $5,000. And it was just like, you think about it like, wow, maybe if I would have gotten another A instead of a B plus or something like that, you could have gotten 5,000 more dollars, which would help you out tremendously.
tremendously, yeah. And it's not even that. Like if you see in the compounding, in the time worth of 4 years, it's not even $5,000. It's gonna be $20,000 a year,
Exactly.
for the 4 years. So
Exactly.
adding $20,000 to your debt, that's really difficult.
Absolutely.
So guys who are listening to this, you gotta focus on those grades, because that's pretty much the first thing that the coach is gonna ask you.
Yep. I
Yeah.
mean, it is, like I said, we've both been there. It's obviously tough. Sometimes you get back home at 2 a.m. and you got a test at 8 a.m. Obviously we get that, but that's why it's so much like emphasis on starting out really good. So like that's why sophomore year, I didn't really do too well academically in college. But then when I went to Northwest, I was like, all right, like I need to do a lot better, and I raised my grade point average a lot. So, but like if I could redo it, I would start off doing really well, so that like say you have like a 3.5 even, which is a very good GPA, that you don't have to stress about it. Because if you have a 2.5, then you're worrying, well, am I even going to be eligible for next semester to even play? It's not like high school where you can get away with that stuff. For college, it's like you can't play or you can play. Simple as
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And we have seen guys on our team, really good players. They can't play because they didn't pass their classes.
Exactly, exactly. And I know a couple of them, even our last year that we could have definitely, had help with, especially a couple pitchers and position players that definitely could have contributed for us that couldn't play in it. And it hurts obviously them, but it hurts your teammates as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So Trev, you play D3 at Simpson. I looked through your stats there. I saw that you were actually hitting that
Yeah.
year, right?
I
Good.
did. I did. The coach, I remember when I went in there, Ben, I talked to him about it. I was just like, I don't want to hit. Like, I don't like hitting. I'd rather just pitch, focus on that. And he's just like, well, let's just, see a swing. And I think like the first week I went like 2 for 4. And I actually, put the ball in play and did pretty well. And he's just like, well, I want you to swing. And I'm like, I don't want to, but if you're like, I'm not going to say no to my coach. I was like, okay, that's fine. So I, hit for the first, I'd probably say 3/4 of the season at Simpson. And I just kind of told them, I'm like, hey, there's guys, that I know want to swing. And for me, like when I get into a slump for hitting, it's more of a mental thing for me compared to pitching. If I'm pitching poorly or if I know something's off mechanically, I can kind of fix it within a couple pitches. But for at bats, for me, it takes like 15 to 20 to kind of get out of it. And I don't like that for me. So I told him like, hey, I'd rather just pitch, and he was like, okay, I understand about it. But I mean, I always admit like I don't like to be cocky about anything, but I wasn't a bad hitter. I just didn't like to hit, if that makes sense.
I understand that. I understand that. It's a lot of work. Hitting is a lot of work.
Dude, it is a lot of work, and you take it for granted pitching because our pitching stuff, lasts about an hour, hour and a half, depending on what you're kind of doing that day. And hitting is like 4 hours. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys could be out there for a long time doing your stuff, and even afterwards, you're like, I want more reps because I feel like I didn't get enough, and it's a lot. But so I, tip my hat to you guys for doing that because it is a lot.
It was. It was. So you decide to leave Simpson, right?
That's
You
right.
decide to you say, well, enough is enough. I want to look for a better place.
No,
What?
it wasn't that. I liked the school, liked the coach, liked the teammates and everything. It was just a lot of money for me and my family to afford, so it was just better for me to move on to some place that was a little bit cheaper
There you,
financially. And my roommate at Simpson, he was my one of my other roommates. I had two roommates at Midland, and he was the other one, and he went to Simpson with me too. So we remember him and I having a discussion whether we wanted to go what to school for. And I was like, and he, I kind of brought up, it was tough for me at that time because I was kind of hesitant on playing baseball still because I was like, well, this would be my third school in 3 years. I don't know if I want to join another team, other coaching staff, stuff like that. So we kind of brought up some ideas about some schools in Iowa. And then I remember he took me to Northwest actually my freshman and sophomore year just for a weekend to see some of his buddies. And I became obviously friends with them. And I liked the school. And, obviously they were talking to me about it. They're like, yeah, the baseball team's, pretty good. Obviously they could obviously use, I mean, you can never not use, pitchers or,
yeah.
ever any good players basically. So I kind of looked into it. And then I remember telling my roommate, I'm like, well, it's cheaper than the other schools we're looking at. And obviously they have baseball. And I remember having a heart to heart conversation with my dad about it. I remember telling him I didn't know if I wanted to play. And, I remember him just basically looking me straight in the eyes. And he's like, our family is not a bunch of quitters. We don't quit something. Whenever we start it, we're going to finish it. And I was like, okay, you're right. So I stuck with it. And, obviously ended up at Northwest. So
And that's awesome. For Northwest, at least it was, a very good surprise for them. They
yeah.
didn't obviously they didn't recruit you. You pretty much
No, they didn't. I remember
them.
emailing. I remember emailing Coach Lowe and Creason. I was like, "Hey, I'm transferring here. I know it's kind of. It was during. I think it was like May or April or May of when I was at Simpson. We were done with the season, and I remember telling them, I was like, "Hey, I'm coming here. I'd like to try out for the baseball team. Walk on. I'm not looking for any money or anything." And Creason responds to me, and he's like, "Lowe can't respond to you until you get your release form from Simpson." So I was like, "Okay, that's totally fine. I'll get that." And then he's like, I do a coach, or I'm coaching this league in North Carolina, South Carolina, right on that border. And he's like, I need another player, basically another pitcher out here. Would you like to come? And at first, I was kind of hesitant because I wanted to work on doing some things here at home, possibly make a little bit extra money with a job or something.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my parents about it, and they're like, "Well, one of the coaches is going to be able to see you firsthand and see how you do in game situations. So why not go out there and show them what you can do?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." So I went out there and played for him, and obviously Grayson, I fell in love with right away, meeting him out there and his family. And I believe that he did for me as well. And then obviously when I met Coach Lowe, great guy right away. And obviously he took control of the pitching stuff. So I was like, this is awesome. Like this is a match made in heaven, basically.
Yeah, no, for sure. Um, yeah, I think that that's one of the things that I really like from Northwest. They really care about you.
They do.
I had an awesome time there, and that's why I chose them. Out of UCO, I had a couple of different offers, and I went to different schools. Just as you did.
Hmm.
Visit and stuff. But Northwest really felt like a family. They really
Absolutely.
felt that they cared, and I couldn't make a better decision, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Um, so I remember you whenever you got to Northwest.
Yep.
You made a big impact because you were all over the place with your fastball. And when I talk about that, I want to say not with the strike zone, but actually with your miles.
Yeah.
It was, you will throw 186 and then 181.
Yeah.
And then the next one will be 86 again and then 79,
Yeah.
and they both look the same, and everybody was wondering like what's going on.
Yeah.
you know Obviously, you had really good breaking pitches. I think that your secondary pitches were really good, since the beginning.
Mhm.
but your fastball was always, going up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
Um, it was the inconsistency. So tell me a little bit more about how you work on that, to get from, being an 82 guy to now on your senior year and now being 93, 94.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really just is like a mindset basically on the mound. Like I always have the mindset that I'm going to strike this batter out, regardless of, I could have every gold glove in the MLB behind me, but I want to strike this guy out because I want to show you what my best stuff is. And I think for me, it was just finding that mechanical tweak of finding the consistent mechanics of coming out of it and throwing the same thing out of the same hand, same motion, everything at the exact same time. So that's why I was from the windup, obviously, as you know, the first, basically 2 years. And then I went out of the stretch, in the spring of my junior year and then all of senior year, just because I felt more consistent with that. But I think it was, like I said, I think it was just more of a mindset, getting to that position of like, hey, like, this is how you're supposed to do it, not like, or even like not aiming the ball, but like kind of being hesitant on a pitch, like, hey, I need a strike here or something. It's just like, no, just go after and attack it regardless of whoever it is. It doesn't even matter because hitting a baseball is so difficult. But no, yeah, I mean, when I first got there, I remember basically being like 82 the entire time my redshirt year, and I think I hit 87 like once, like the last weekend in the fall of that redshirt year. Um, but I mean, I was just like, okay, like it is what it is. I remember Skip talking to me about it. After going home, then going into my junior year, my redshirt junior year, excuse me, he was like, you'll probably be like, third or fourth guy out of the pen. Obviously, you're fine, your pitches are fine, but obviously he's like, if you can, get a little more velocity, that'd be great. So I went home, I did Google on the driveline stuff, ordered all that, took that like religiously, like every single day I was out there throwing into a fence. I have a bucket of balls. I used to have a batting cage in my backyard, so I had like a bucket of balls laying around, um, and I would just throw into a fence. If my dad can come out some days and play catch with me, he would. But if not, I'd just throw into the fence and do whatever their program was, and it helped me out tremendously for that reason, for arm care and for recovery and for arm speed. And then on top of it, that red shirt year, we were working out 4 days a week, and the guys that are in
I
that
remember
group,
that. Yeah.
that was hell for us. Like, excuse my French, but that was just absolutely miserable. I mean, they were working us pretty good. But the guys that came out of that, I mean, we were in a lot better shape, a lot better condition on doing stuff, and so yeah, that helped out a lot. And I remember being at Northwest before that spring, and I weighed myself before I went back there, and I was 210. And I even came home and I was right about 210, 212, right in that range. And then I came back in the fall at 225. So I put on 15 pounds over that summer. I was working out 4 or 5 days a week. I was doing basically like an amateur team here, back here, pitching one time a week. And I just told them like I need to work on my stuff, but I'll come face hitters to kind of keep in that groove. But I need to work out and do my thing. And my coach for that was like, hey, you do whatever you got to do. So it was really nice with that. And then obviously come back in the fall, first day out. I remember I'll never forget it. First pitch was 78, still kind of just, peppering around in that. And then the rest of the time was 85, 87. And the guys, I remember talking to some guys, and they were like, hey, where's that coming from? And I'm just like, worked on it all summer, and then it just obviously kind of kept ticking up, finding more confidence in myself, finding that mechanical cue. And it obviously kept paying off. So,
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I remember that year that you were sitting out. Obviously tough. For a guy who has previously played at two different colleges and come to a new college and have to sit out for NCAA rules.
yep.
You know, um, what were your thoughts then?
I remember Creason calling me and telling me that he said, he's like, give me a call. I don't know where I was, but he said, give me a call. I got to talk to you about some stuff. And at first I was just like, well, maybe I didn't get accepted, but I know I had the grades and everything. So I was just kind of like nervous. I'm like, what could have happened? And he's just like, hey, I just want to let you know that you're not eligible to play this year because you already transferred and you get one free transfer in the NCAA. Obviously, it'd be a little different if it was JUCO to JUCO than there. I believe so, anyways. I'm not sure. But he was like, you already had your one free transfer, so you can't play this year. You have to redshirt. He's like, "Are you okay with that?" I mean, he told me before I came down there. I think it was like early August, which is really nice because obviously if it's a different kid and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to do that," I'm just going to stay at the school. But I was like, "No, like that's okay. I totally understand. I get it." And I mean, it's fine with me because for me, going there, I lost some credits with my academics because obviously going from two different schools, it
Yeah,
can't all carry over. So I knew for me that I was like, well, sucks I have to redshirt, but at the same time, I have to have a positive mindset about it. I need to get better with whatever I'm trying to do with it, and I also needed to improve my GPA because at Northwest, they give that Bearcat advantage. If you have a 3.0 there, you get in-state tuition, which
yeah,
obviously is very nice. So I was like, well, I just need to do that, and I'll be fine. And everything obviously worked out after that. And redshirting, though, I know a lot of people think like it sucks, but it is for me, one of the most beneficial things I've ever done because I got to work on what I needed to work on. When we would practice in the spring, I didn't necessarily have that mindset of, well, if I'm throwing live to hitters today, I need to do this to impress. It's just like, well, I'm not playing this year. So like just work on whatever you need to work on. If you throw 30 straight balls, but you figured it out after that, then who really cares? You know what I mean?
yeah, for
So for
sure.
me, it was just looking at it like, well, I know what I need to work on. I need to get stronger. I need to get faster. I need to weigh more. And I obviously did all of that. So it benefited me. And I know from other guys that have redshirted too, it's helped out them a lot. I remember playing in the Northwoods League, one of my good friends up there. He went to the University of Arizona and he redshirted his first year and he kind of had hesitant feelings about it, but played his redshirt freshman year, and then redshirt sophomore year, got drafted in the 8th round by the Pittsburgh Pirates. So I think he's doing
Yeah, he might be doing okay right now.
okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about because I had a different situation, right? I had to redshirt for medical,
Yep.
that year, 2018. Um, but it's a different thing whenever it's medical than whenever you have to, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of guys do not take advantage of that opportunity that the coaches are giving them. You know,
Absolutely.
the coaches are not saying, hey, we're never going to play you. They're saying, hey, we're giving you an extra year to develop.
Yep.
You are at a college now. You have the resources, you
Yep.
got the food, you got the weight room, you got all these different resources. You got, free, you can enter any fields at Northwest, at least,
Yep.
or different other colleges, and practice as much as you want. Because some
Exactly.
guys, and I've seen, some guys take advantage of this and then play the next year and be a freshman playing 45 games.
Yep.
And then I also have seen guys, who had the potential but didn't do anything about it, about getting better, and
Yep.
then getting caught that first semester the next year.
Yep.
So I mean, what I'm gonna come with this is, you have to work hard. Even if you're not playing that year, you have to work hard because even if you don't think so, the coaches are noticing you.
Exactly.
The coaches are looking at you, and they know what they got in
Yep.
their redshirt reserve.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. It's absolutely true. I mean, for pitching, I mean, for me, it was just kind of like I know I opened eyes coming back and just basically sitting. I mean, even if it was the first day, just sitting 85, 87, I knew that I opened up eyes because they knew that I was working on my stuff. Or even a guy coming back hitting better, whoever it may be, whatever they needed to work on, fielding better. I mean, anything that you start to improve on, people, even the players notice it right away. And they're like, this guy actually wants to get after it. So you earn more respect from your players, even.
oh yeah, for sure. I remember doing that on 2017 as well. I got hurt and couldn't play,
Yep.
for like 10 games, and then I lost my spot because the other guy was doing better than me, and
Yep.
that's fine.
Yeah.
And then I talked to the coach and I asked him, what do I need to do?
Yes.
And
They,
he
they
goes,
like questions. It's not like you're sitting, pouting about it or whatever. As long as you have a good mindset about it, what do I need to do? Well, you need to be able to drive the opposite field better. All right, I'm just going to put my work in for the next 2 weeks and do that to show you that I've been working on it.
exactly right. I mean, and that's the thing. Just don't take it for granted.
Yep.
So The next thing that I want to talk about, this is the big thing for me,
Okay.
sit out 1 year,
Yep.
come from a D3 school, you know, barely play at NAIA. And then you come your junior year, 2018, they hand you the ball to be the closer at
Yep.
Northwest. You have no prior knowledge about this. And then at the end of the season, you set up the record, for the league, and then you end up winning all conference and all region, having 13 saves, and then having an amazing ERA of 2.25, and I think you stroke 19 guys out of 19 appearances straight. You know,
Yeah.
this is amazing. To me, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I remember I think I saved one or two games at Simpson, but it wasn't like it was, high pressure stuff. It was like, we're up 4 runs, you come in, you get like an out, or two. It wasn't like a big thing. So for me doing that, I remember like, feeling really good going into the winter, facing our hitters, feeling really good about it. Velocity was there. And then I remember that first game at Arkansas Fort Smith, and it was, I mean, we were losing, it was a blowout
Yeah.
game. I think we were down like 10-4 or something like that. And Skip just comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, I just want you to get some innings in because you haven't pitched yet, in the first two games." Okay, go out there. And I think I first pitch was a 40-footer because I hadn't faced,
Yeah.
it wasn't a game situation. Obviously the fall's so laid back, compared to the Fall World Series. We get into it a little bit. But the fall is just so laid back with stuff. And I hadn't pitched competitively. I mean, the summer league that I was in, it was just, like I said, an amateur league. So it wasn't like any high pressure stuff. Um, so it was just like I hadn't pitched in a regular, college game in over 2 years. And the nerves obviously hit me the first game. I think I pitched 2 innings. I gave up 2 runs, something like that. I just was very inconsistent. Um, and then obviously the next game was the first save game at Ouachita. And that was the roller coaster of a ride, man.
Oh
The
man,
ups and downs, and that was crazy.
it was.
Um, but yeah, then after that, I mean, I remember talking to my dad. I mean, a lot of times I talk to my dad about stuff because he can relate to me. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, I feel like I'm not nervous out there. Like at the Watchdog game, I didn't really feel nervous. I just feel like I can't throw the ball over the plate. Like, I feel like I like have to like push it there instead of just letting it, come out nice and easy. And he's just like, you just have to have the mentality of going up there and just like, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter what the score is. You just think like if you're up 10-0, you're pitching back home here. I'm just kind of like, okay. And then I remember Canapeel, our GA, I remember meeting with him and Nico about it too. And I was just like, Skip's going to kill me if I keep doing this stuff. Like, what can I do? Seeking advice from older guys. And they're just like, dude, you're our closer. You're our guy. Like, nobody's going to replace you. Go out there and just shove. And I think just even hearing that too, just the feeling that like I had it locked, it was just like, all right, we're good to go. And then I remember that next game we were facing Henderson, and I struck out the side in an inning. Like it was just blowing it by him. And I was just like,
Yeah.
all right, let's go, pedal to the floor. Let's get it going.
Oh yeah, I remember catching you in both games actually.
Yeah,
I caught you, and that first game, you seem a little nervous. I actually went up there and I told you a couple words.
yeah.
And for the people who don't know this, we do try to encourage the pitchers, but whenever they are a head case, sometimes you have to curse at them or say something.
Just set them straight. Like, hey, like we got to go. Like we got to get
Yeah,
it going. Yeah.
yeah, like come on, put your pants up and let's go.
Yep. Yep.
And I remember that day that our left fielder actually,
Yep.
made a really good catch that
Shout
day.
out Matt Shingle.
Yeah, yeah, he did. That was like
Yeah.
a over the fence foul ball or something like that,
Yeah. It
and
was
we
crazy.
won the game. And from that, like that set it up. And then everything changed. You were a whole different man. It was like Mariano Rivera, like apaga y vámonos, let's go. It was like that. Like put the dude over there, he's gonna shut it down.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what it was after that. Like I said, I think it was just having those two conversations with, our GAs and my father, and just basically telling, they're just like, you're a good pitcher. You know what you're capable of. Just go out and shove and just prove to everybody. And I was just like, all right, let's do it. So then every time I got the ball, it was kind of like that mentality to me that like I want to prove to you how good I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I know. And you did prove.
Yeah, I mean, it felt really good, and even talking with some guys. I remember, a teammate right before our conference tournament. I didn't even think I would even have won first team all conference, and the all region stuff too. And I remember he came in, he's like, "Yeah, it all came out. You got first team," and I was like, "What?" Like I was shocked. Like I didn't even kind of expect it. So yeah, it was different, different feeling, good feeling of joy right there. But at the same time, it was just like, well, I want more. Like, you stay hungry with stuff. You're not
Yeah,
complacent and just saying, well, okay, I just got that. I don't really care about anything else. It was like, no, like I want to keep going, keep going.
no, for sure, for sure. It was really fun to watch you. For sure, I enjoyed it, and catching you was better.
Yeah.
That was amazing. One of the easiest guys to catch. That's for sure.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear.
um, One other question that I want to ask you.
Yeah.
We were talking about academics earlier, but I want to make emphasis on this because I want guys to understand how difficult this is. The student athlete life, not everybody can do it. You have to be able to, balance your classes, lifting, and practices.
Mhm.
And at a JUCO level, it's extreme.
Oh yeah.
That's why Yukos are in like really small towns where there's nothing to do. But for the most part, 4 year schools, you're having, guys who are maybe 4 or 5 years older than you that are teaching you how to do things. How how do you manage or how do you balance your classes and all that with like early lifting, your diet, in the process of getting better to actually perform and be an all region guy?
I think it was just always ingrained in me by my parents. I mean, they always told me like if you don't get good grades, you're not playing any sports. And for me, sports was everything. Like everything was pushed aside. I wanted to focus everything on that. So after hearing that, I'm like, okay, well, I need to do good in school. So I mean, getting up for us, I mean, we get up at 5:30 for lifting, at 6 o'clock in the morning, 3 times a week. It was tough. I mean, getting up, trying to balance things. But I think for me, it was like I always tried to get my classes in the morning. Obviously, yes, it's tough with that, but you just get them out of the way so that when you're done, try and be done by 11, 12 o'clock ish, so where you can eat before practice, maybe do a little homework before that too. But when we have practice from 2:30 to say about 5 o'clock, afterward I just immediately go home, eat, shower, and then you got to do homework. I mean, you just got to set your mind set to it because obviously my parents weren't there, your parents obviously weren't there,
Yeah.
so you gotta basically, your parent is the NCAA saying, don't, sure, go ahead and go out, go to a party on a Wednesday night, go do whatever you want to do. That's totally fine, but you're not going to be able to play this spring because you're not getting good grades. So that was the thing for me where it's like, well, I want to know that I'm going to be good with grades. And I would always try and just stay on top of things. Obviously, yes, there's sometimes that, like I said, if you were coming home from Edmond, Oklahoma, and it's a 8.5 hour bus ride, and it's just like, okay, this sucks, and we get home at 2 in the morning, and you got class at 8 a.m. or whatever. Obviously, yeah, that's a tough one. But that's why I always try and stress that first semester, that fall semester, get everything done, get your grades good and go. So you're for springtime that you're able to play for one thing, and then in the springtime try and have that balance of communication too with coaches. I mean, for us at Northwest, it was nice, we'd always have Mondays off of practice, so where we could get our schoolwork done. But you just got to find that free time of balancing everything out and just realizing, hey, like I got to do this. Maybe sometimes, I mean, there was guys that would come in late to practice if they had class or whatever. Our coaches were totally fine with that. Even at other schools, they were totally fine with that
Yeah.
because obviously baseball is for so long. Obviously you cherish it in high school. You may not be able to play in college, which is very unfortunate if you can't. But obviously, if you don't want to, you do whatever you need to do. College, you're slim pickings. Everybody's good in college. They're not scrubs. And once after college, if you get picked to, go in the draft, or if you sign a free agent deal with an independent team, affiliate team, whatever it may be, it's just like, how long is that going to last? You may be in the MLB for 10 years. Okay, well, you're out at 35. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? If you don't really have an education with it, what do you think like you should do? So it's tough. And I mean, like I'll reiterate it, baseball isn't forever. So having that degree and having that knowledge of this is what I'd like to do after that baseball is over with is a lot more beneficial than just saying, well, whatever, a party, or you want to stay up late playing Fortnite or something. Like, just you got to realize, hey, I got to put it down. I got to get to the books.
Yeah, exactly. You just gotta get your priorities straight.
Yep.
That's what I think. I think, well, you know me, since I got to Northwest, I got there with my wife and a kid.
Yeah.
So I was even
You even had it worse, and I shouldn't say worse, but you had a lot more tougher time than even us. So,
yeah,
like I said, even if you can balance it with a wife, kid, sport,
and
doing
and a job.
extracurricular activities, whatever it may be, any person should be able to do it.
Yeah, remember I was working and I will leave early for
Yeah.
practice, and then also go and be like, hey, I gotta go to work.
Yeah.
And I was able to pass to a three with a 3.5, and some of the guys who will be like, no, I can't pass my classes, I got a
Yeah.
2.0 or whatever, and I'm like, how?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I always liked, our PL1, my junior year, and, your junior year, basically, I could say, Joe Hiptis would always say, he's like, hey, whoever needs help, finals week or with homework or whatever, just ask, because what's the
Yeah,
worst thing that a teammate could say, hey, no, I don't know it, or no, I can't do it. Okay, then just ask somebody else, because by chance, there's probably going to be somebody that's taking the same class at the same time as you or at a different time, or they've taken it before, whatever it may be. So it's like, if any help that they can give, and I remember helping younger guys, I remember getting help from older guys with stuff,
yeah, I
just
remember
ask.
that. Yeah, for
Just
sure.
ask.
For sure. I mean, there is almost 50 guys in the team,
Yeah,
between the whole roster and then the red shirts.
exactly.
So there is 50 guys. Someone might know about it.
Yes, exactly.
So and they're also like tutors, and you have a lot of resources. So you,
Yep,
you have to you have to be able to get your classes, get it done, and then enjoy playing baseball.
exactly. Because there's nothing worse than being somewhere and not even worrying about baseball, and you're stressing out about, oh man, I got a test tomorrow that I haven't even studied for, or I got an assignment due that I need to do on the bus tonight. Just get it all done so your mind relaxes, you can focus on baseball.
No, for sure, and I agree with you. I agree with you. Um, so you're talking about trying to go pro,
Hmm.
and I know you got a lot of chance on it. You're a hardworking guy, and I think you're gonna make it. So what will your approach be on it? And tell us a little bit more about uh, that process of getting ready towards your tryouts and contacting people and all that.
So, I mean, it was a big decision for me because I remember talking like after my junior year and, hearing kind of just like rumbles about, scouts kind of looking at me through, the grapevine basically. And then obviously I went into my senior year thinking, I think I just kind of put not like too much stress on it, but I was like, I want, like, obviously, yes, I was here to play for Northwest and compete for a national championship, the MIAA championship, repeat
Yeah,
it basically and do all that. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, what if there's a scout here and if I don't throw 95, I'm not going to get drafted. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it was kind of confusing to me because I remember telling my parents about it. I'm like, I just want to know that if I am getting drafted or not, so I can just focus on whatever basically the outcome or whatever the inning is or whatever it may be that I may be trying to do. But obviously I didn't get drafted. Unfortunately, I was upset by it. But I remember I trained with one of my good friends here back home, and remember him talking to me about it. I remember seeing guys getting drafted. Obviously, those top, I'd say probably top 1 to 30 rounds. I mean, those guys can be really good. And obviously, I mean, anybody who gets drafted is really good. But
Yeah.
obviously, to me personally, anything after the 30th round is basically kind of like a filler for me for like a minor league team or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I remember him telling me about it. He was an older guy, and he went to University of Cincinnati, University of Miami, Ohio. And he would tell me like, "Hey, guys do it all the time, and they get released the following year because they don't work at their stuff or whatever. They're just a filler." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "This is a really good chance for you to work on whatever you need to work on." And he's like, well, "What do you want to work on?" I'm like, "Well, first things I want to be able to maintain my velocity because I feel like the first 20 pitches I'd be good, and anything after that it would dip down 5 miles an hour, and I didn't want that anymore." So that
Yeah.
was a big thing for me is focusing on that, getting myself in condition, and basically building strength in areas that I wasn't really good at in the weight room. So I talked to my parents and I go, "Hey, I want to continue playing," and they were both very fine with it. They said, "Do what you want to do, fulfill out your dream, because even if you try for 3 years, let's say, and nothing ever comes of it, at least you can say that you tried instead of
Exactly.
looking back on it and wishing that I would have done it when I was, this young." So, up to that point, I mean, like I said, before the draft, I was looking forward to it. Doesn't happen. So all last summer, working out, basically working out 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, throwing 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, always taking Sunday off, and then working that basically into the winter as well. I have a facility here, Great Lakes Academy, that's in Woodbury, Minnesota, and there are a bunch of great guys over there that let me basically go in there at any time. I could go in there 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon. So they were really helpful with that, and they just said, just use what you need because we want you to make it. I mean, there were guys that I played with growing up, and obviously that coaches that I knew as well. So it was very beneficial for me for that. And obviously, if you even can't do that stuff, if you can even try to find even weights that like during this pandemic with the coronavirus stuff, I mean, fill up your backpack with textbooks and do squats or do like a lunge or whatever, curls or shoulder stuff, whatever you can do to find with it, because obviously it's tougher then than it was before it. But since then, like I said, I've noticed my bullpen velocity's been up a couple miles an hour. I mean, before I was like 85, 87 in bullpens, and then coming to games to be 90, 92, hit 93. And now the past couple bullpens I've done, it's basically just been 88s, 89s, a lot of that. And I personally want to get to the range where I know that I can be 90, 92 in a bullpen, because then I know for a game situation, for adrenaline rushing and everything going, I'll be 94, 96. So I just know that about myself. I throw harder in a game than I would in a bullpen. So
But
for me, it's just getting
the
that.
competition makes you throw harder, I believe, right?
Exactly. So basically, just working on that right now, still doing my stuff. And then I know my pitching coach from high school. He does stuff with the Minnesota Twins, so I have a connection there. And then a couple other coaches that I've kind of done some stuff with before. They have some other connections with some other MLB teams. So basically, in a sense, they're just telling me whenever you want to create a video throwing the batters, or whenever you have a radar gun readily available, we'll look at it and then send it over to them. And I'm like, perfect. So it's basically on my time. And I wanted to be ready before this coronavirus hit by, May, June-ish, because I wanted to be able to sign with the team. And now there might not even be baseball. So it's a good and bad thing, because I wanted to play this summer. But at the same time, now I may have another year to kind of prepare myself.
But yeah, I think it's a good thing.
So I'm looking at it as a positive anyway. Like I said, try and treat everything like as positive as possible. So, like I said, just continue to work at doing stuff, and hopefully, I personally think the stuff that I'm doing right now is going to been very beneficial for me and help me out in the long run. And I do think that I'm going to sign a pro deal with whoever it may be. I mean, I will sign with any team. It doesn't even matter to
Yeah, no, and I know your work ethic, and I know you're gonna, it's gonna happen to you. I know it. I know it. Uh, the transformation of a player from the freshman year of college, to a senior year,
me. Yeah.
as incredible as yours, it has to be an inspiration to these guys who are out there grinding, and they don't see any progress. The thing is that everybody thinks, oh yeah, I'm throwing 82,
Yeah.
and in 1 year I'm gonna be 86, and they don't put the work, you
Yep.
know. But I've seen you, putting countless hours of work, and hard work pays off. you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, it does. It does. And you hit the nail on the head. It's just like you think you're gonna plateau, but you bust through it. And that's, even in the drive line stuff, they talk about it with the weighted balls. They said the first 2, 3 months you're gonna see a jump more than likely in velocity, a couple miles an hour. But then you're gonna plateau for the next couple months because your body's getting used to it. But that's when they said you can't give up on it. You got to keep pushing through it because then after that plateau, it's gonna go up again. So that's where, like I said, where I think that it benefited me because I knew that doing the plyo stuff, I knew I was throwing harder, but I didn't have a radar gun to see what I was throwing. But I was just like, just continue with it. It's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. And obviously, there are some cases, yes, where if you keep grinding, it doesn't pay off. But at least you have that clarity in your mind that, hey, I did everything that I possibly could to do, try and play college ball or try and sign a professional deal with whoever. Like, at least you have that clarity that at least I put in this effort and this time for it instead of wasting it and being like, what if?
Yeah, yeah. At least you try your best,
Exactly.
That's all you can do, I think. Trevor, just to wrap it up right here, my man. Thank you so for much. Thank you so much for joining me.
No problem.
Sharing your thoughts and sharing your experience. I got a couple more questions for you. Before we
Yeah.
end it,
Yeah.
and I want to ask you, what's your best memory of being a student athlete?
My best memory, I would say, is just meeting all of the teammates that I've met. Even from Midland, I keep in contact with still. Simpson, I keep in contact with still. Northwest. I mean, even growing up playing, traveling ball and then high school baseball. I mean, just meeting all those different players because some of them are some of my best friends. Still to this day. So it's like if I didn't play a sport, I mean, who would I know, and kind of like where would I be with my life? And on top of that, I think it's just also being able to balance everything out. Being a student athlete is a very tough thing to do. And once you know that you can balance a sport with school, it's just like I can conquer anything.
Awesome, awesome. Um, Second question, my man. What's your worst memory of being a student athlete? Like your worst experience?
I would say at the end of the season when you know that it's over. I mean, that's just heartfelt. You have to say goodbye to your teammates that you've played with the entire year, or possibly even 3 years or however long that you've been at college for. So I think that was one of the toughest things for me, and it also just like even our senior year. I mean, I knew. I mean, you probably know. Maybe a couple other guys that hey, I'm going to try for pro ball, and I know that there's more baseball on the way, but for a lot of guys, it's over right there. And I would say that's one of the saddest things that I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of talent, man. Um, just they just don't want to go that route,
Yep,
and it's understandable, because it's a grind.
it is.
We have talked about it in the past,
Yeah,
and we have had extensive conversations about it. But yeah, no, definitely, I agree with you. It's really tough, that day that there's not gonna be any more baseball, especially for the guys who are not gonna play anymore. Yeah, that's
yeah,
tough. That's a
it
tough
is.
one. And Trev, what is your advice for those guys who are out there, that are only getting offers to, joining a D3 team, or the guys they don't have any offers, they're in their junior year, or they need to develop, but they're not getting any looks and they want to play college ball. What would be your advice to them?
I would say just keep striving to be the best that you possibly can be. And like I said, one of my good friends, the one that I train with back home here, he always said, yes, you're really good at some things. There's some things that you're fantastic at with baseball. Could be have a lot of power, just general power. You don't even work out. You just have a lot of power throwing the baseball. You just already have great mechanics and you don't need to really work on anything besides strength or whatever it may be. But work on the things that you're not good at so you become so much more well-rounded, because at the end of the day, your strengths are always going to be there. Yes, still touch and feel with them. If something kind of feels off, hey, I'm going to go back to that just for a little bit. But I think working on the negatives, or like the things that you aren't as good at, to just even make them become even average, let's say you're going to become that much better of a baseball player. And second thing is don't stress about wherever you go, wherever you may be heading to, it does not matter because as long as you put up the stats, and I mean, sometimes it's not even stats. There's guys that I've seen with 9 ERAs for pitching and they get drafted because they have potential. As long as you have that potential and you're gritty, and you get down to it, and you just have that right, like the scout likes you or whatever it may be, a college coach likes you, you know, whatever it may be, they're going to take you. So just keep going in the right direction and don't feel like you're not going to get picked in the draft or taken by a select college, whatever, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you know where you want to go and you will find that road.
Awesome, awesome. I agree with you. It's really tough sometimes, for these guys to be encouraged, but just trying to grind and just looking at experiences just as yours, that
Yeah.
you came from different colleges, pretty much being, an average, below average guy to now being, about to, be a professional baseball player. That says a lot,
Yeah. I mean, that's just, I guess that's just hard work and just having a good, friendship and basically family support from everybody that's in my corner. And obviously you listen to the naysayers that say you can't do it. And that just has to fuel you even more to be even to prove to
Exactly.
them, prove to them,
Exactly.
but also prove to yourself that, hey, I did do this and you can't tell me that I didn't otherwise.
Exactly, exactly. I remember being in Venezuela. I wasn't the tallest. I wasn't the skinniest or the fastest or the strongest.
Yeah.
But I was the guy who was working harder than anybody else out
Yep.
there.
Yep.
You know me. I'm 5'8", and
Yeah, but
you
you
know
put in that work. I've seen you grinding on catching stuff. I've seen you grinding on hitting. I mean, like I said, I'll never leave in practice a bunch of different times. You and Enrique and other guys would be out there and like, hey, no, we need to keep hitting. We need to keep doing our stuff. And that was, fantastic. A lot of guys are just done right then and there. Hey, my practice is my practice time. I got other things to do. But for you and a lot of other guys, it's just like, no, I want to put in that extra work because that one little thing, that one extra ball you hit, it may just be like, all right, hey, I found my swing again, or that one extra bullpen session, or even a flat ground for a pitcher. It's just like, hey, I just found something that I really like that I can use in a game situation.
exactly, exactly. You're completely right, my man. And well, that was all for today, Trev. Thank you so much for giving us, your thoughts and your experiences. It was really awesome to be able to be doing this with you. And man, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Pop. And anytime you ever need anything, like I said, one last word: just keep going. Don't stop where you're at right now. Just keep going on what you're doing, and you'll find success in it.